Prabhasa. Relevance: reincarnated as Devavrata, Bhishma. The Vasus were a group of deities associated with fire and light. In the Mahabharata they were known as the sons of Manu and a daughter of Daksha named Vasu. They were 8 among the 33 gods. The Vasus, led by Prithu, were enjoying themselves in the forest when Prabhasa's wife spotted a divine cow which tickled her fancy. She persuaded Prabhasa to steal the cow with the help of Prithu and his brothers. Unfortunately for them, the cow was owned by the sage Vasishtha. He cursed them to be born on earth as mortals but responded to their pleading by promising that 7 of them would be free of mortality within a year, but Prabhasa would have to go full term. With Ganga as their mother, 7 children were born, 7 children were drowned, freeing them. The 8th son, Prabhasa incarnated, remained alive as Devavrata but later became known as Bhishma, cursed to live long with no wife or children. That's no Evers to tinker to chance.
Bloody hell.
Vasishtha. Relevance: cursed killers of his divine cow. Sage Vasishtha was a powerful, revered rishis or sage. He was a Saptarishis or one of the 7 great rishis. Not someone you would want to tick off, but the Vasus, led by Prithu, were enjoying themselves in the forest when the wife of Prabhasa spotted a divine cow. She persuaded Prabhasa to steal it with the help of Prithu and his brothers. Unfortunately for them, the cow was owned by the sage Vasishtha. He cursed them to be born on earth as mortals, which was the worst of all curses. Vasishtha responded to their pleading by promising that 7 of them would be free of mortality within a year, but Prabhasa would have to go full term. They requested Ganga be their mother. As the 7 Vasus were reborn, she drowned them in her own waters, freeing them. The 8th, Prabhasa incarnated, remained alive but imprisoned in mortal form. He later became known as Bhishma, cursed to live long with no wife or children.
Bloody hell.
Mahabhisha. Relevance: reincarnated as Shantanu. In his day, Mahabhisha possessed many virtuous qualities. He was a king of the Ikshvaku dynasty, which were the descendants of the sun. The sun was their god and originator. Together with the lunar dynasty, they were the main lineages of the Kshatriya Varna. Mahabhisha performed 1,000 Ashvamedha yagnas, or horse sacrifices, and 100 Rajasuya yagnas, the great sacrifice, to attain heaven after his death on earth. While the world was being reformed for the next yuga, he spent time with Brahma and the Devas, including Ganga, in heaven. A wind blew through, causing a revealing rustle of clothes. Brahma lost his temper and cursed Mahabhisha and Ganga to be born as mortals. Ganga could return on one condition: you can only come back here after you break Mahabhisha's heart. Mahabhisha was reborn through King Shantanu, who had had 7 sons with Ganga, each drowned by their mother.
Bloody hell.
Ganga, the goddess of forgiveness and purification. Relevance: drowned Shantanu's 7 sons. Ganga was the personification of the river Ganges as the goddess of purification and forgiveness, and was depicted as beautiful woman, riding a divine crocodile-like creature called the Makara. She was the mother of the warrior Bhishma. While Ganga was hanging out with Brahma and his crowd, a wind blew through and rustled her clothes. Everyone averted their eyes except her and Mahabhisha, which ticked Brahma off to no end, and he lost his temper, cursing them both to be born as mortal. In the case of Ganga, he eased his curse a bit and told her, you can only come back here after you break Mahabhisha's heart. As his wife, she was very successful. To get in position to break his heart, she approached King Pratapa, and the king proposed she marry his son, Shantanu, the reincarnated Mahabhisha. Ganga fulfilled another curse as well. She birthed and drowned 7 of the 8 Vasus, while allowing Bhishma to live as a result of sage Vasistha's curse.
Bloody hell.
Brahma. Relevance: cursed Mahabhisha and Ganga. Brahma was referred to as the creator within the Trimurti, the trinity of supreme divinities that include Vishnu and Shiva. In the beginning, Brahma sprang from the cosmic golden egg and created good and evil and light and dark from his own person before making all other living creatures. A Mahakalpa is a life of Brahma which lasts 360 years of Brahma. That is 72 million yuga cycles, or in earth time, 311 trillion years. That's followed by a Mahapralaya, or full dissolution of equal length, where the entire universe is dissolved, including Brahma, who enters the absolute. Between yugas, Brahma hosts the gods and devas while he flushes the earth with glaciers and storms to prepare a new crop of players in the next yuga. Mahabhisha had a past to that event while awaiting rebirth, but when a wind blew through to displace Ganga's clothes, revealing her shapely body, Brahma caught Mahabhisha gawking and lost his cool, cursing them both to be born immortal. Brahma told Ganga, you can only come back here after you break Mahabhisha's heart. King Pratapa. Relevance: Shantanu's father. Shantanu's father was out meditating in the forest one day when he was approached by Ganga. Ganga took the form of a beautiful woman and approached King Pratapa, sitting on his right thigh. The king awoke and asked Ganga what she wanted. She replied that she wanted him to be her husband. I imagine she figured a mother should be able to break a mortal's heart. King Pratapa refused. He had taken a vow not to lust for anybody, and besides, she had sat on his right thigh. According to traditions, a man's right thigh was reserved for his daughter or daughter-in-law. His left thigh was for his wife. The king proposed she marry his son, Shantanu. After the wedding, King Pratapa installed Shantanu as king, and retired into the woods to perform penances. Brahma let Ganga know, you can only come back here after you break Mahabhisha's heart. As his wife, she was very successful.
Bloody Alfie.
King Shantanu. Relevance, great-grandfather of the Pandava and Kaurava clans. Shantanu was the reincarnated Mahabhisha, someone cursed by Brahma, in a previous life to have his heart broken by Ganga. Mahabhisha was born to King Pratapa of the Kuru kingdom in Hastinapur on the banks of the Ganges. Shantanu was the great-grandfather of the Pandava and Kaurava clans, rivals in the Kurukshetra war of the Mahabharata. King Pratapa arranged for Ganga to marry his son Shantanu, then installed him as king. She agreed to marry him on one condition, never ask any questions about my actions. When Ganga gave birth to their first son, and she abruptly drowned the infant. Shantanu could not ask the reason why she did this, but it broke his heart. One by one, 7 sons were born, and 7 sons were drowned by Ganga. When Ganga was about to drown the 8th son, Shantanu could not restrain himself further, and Ganga revealed Brahma's curse, and sage Vasishtha curse.
Bloody Alfie.
Devavrata. Relevance, reincarnated Prabhasa. Devavrata was born as the result of sage Vasistha's curse on the 8 Vasus for stealing his cow. 7 of the 8 were put to death by their mother Ganga. She allowed the 8th to live. Ganga took Devavrata into the forest to train him for the king's throne and status. Sage Vasishtha gave Devavrata a boon to be virtuous, conversant in scriptures and an obedient son. One day, Shantanu met Devavrata at the river Ganges where he had slowed the flow with his celestial weapon. Ganga revealed to Shantanu the boy was his son Devavrata, taught the scriptures by sage Vasishtha and the art of warfare by Parshurama. Shantanu made him his heir, but when he wanted to marry Satyavati, her father agreed to the marriage only if Satyavati's son would inherit the throne. Devavrata was his heir to the throne, so Shantanu was unable to give his word. Devavrata stepped forward and told the chief he would renounce all his claims to the throne, in favor of Satyavati's children. The Celestials renamed him Bhishma, meaning one who has taken a terrible vow.
Jesus Murphy.
Devapi. Relevance, Shantanu's oldest brother. Devapi was an immortal sage and a Kuru prince. He was the eldest son of King Pratapa of Hastinapura and oldest brother of Shantanu who should have inherited the throne. Noble and well-liked, the prince was not allowed to succeed King Pratapa because he was affected with leprosy in the council of Brahmanas, and elderly citizens were opposed to this proposal. As a result of this, his younger brother Shantanu succeeded King Pratapa as the king of Hastinapura, which was necessary for things to play out the way they did. Devapi retired to the forest for penance along with the sage Maru. The realm of Kuru suffered from severe drought for 12 years. Shantanu went to offer him the throne. Instead, Devapi conducted a yajnas to produce rain. It said the sages remain alive until the end of Kali Yuga at a place called Kalapagrama. They will revive the Paurava dynasty in the next Satya Yuga. Perhaps they will visit Brahmaloka between yugas. It's a windy place.
Jesus Murphy.
Balika. Relevance, Shantanu's brother. Balika was the second of the 3 sons of King Pratapa, and his wife Sananda, the king and queen of Hastinapura. One account says that with his eldest son Devapi set to inherit, so Pratapa gifted newly conquered land to his second son. The land was given the name Balika as a result. In another version, Balika deserted his family to join with his uncle who made him his heir. With Devapi contracting leprosy, Shantanu became the crown prince, and upon Pratapa's death became the king of Hastinapura, with Balika's blessing. Balika ruled as a king for many years, and was the oldest and tallest warrior to fight in the Kurukshetra war. He fought on the side of the Kaurava army, but was slain by Bhima on the 14th day when it continued after sunset. According to Yudhishthira, Balika's only wish was that there should be peace among the Bharatas. On his coronation, he gave Yudhishthira a chariot of pure gold.
Jesus Murphy.
Bhishma. Relevance, reincarnated Prabhasa. Bhishma was known as Pitamaha, Gangaputra, and Devavrata. He was the supreme commander of the Kaurava forces during the Kurukshetra war. In the story of King Shantanu, his father, he was Devavrata, born as the result of sage Vasistha's curse on the 8 Vasus. When he was born, Ganga took him into the forest to train him for the king's throne and status. Sage Vasishtha gave Devavrata a boon to be virtuous, conversant in scriptures and an obedient son which would carry over to Bhishma. Shantanu made Devavrata his heir, but when Shantanu wanted to marry Satyavati, her father would only agree if Satyavati's son would inherit the throne. Devavrata was his heir to the throne, so Shantanu was unable to comply. Devavrata stepped forward and told the chief he would renounce all his claims in favor of Satyavati's children. He renounced his birthright for his father's happiness and took a vow of lifelong celibacy. He was blessed to live as long as he wanted to. That's when the Celestials renamed him Bhishma, meaning one who has taken a terrible vow.
Jesus, Murphy.
Chitrangada. Relevance, Shantanu's son. Chitrangada's mother was Satyavati, wife of King Shantanu of Hastinapura. When she married Shantanu, her father insisted Satyavati's son be king. At the time it was impossible for Shantanu because Devavrata was his heir. Devavrata gave his pledge, and the chief accepted it. Satyavati's life goal and ambition was to ensure her children's succession and inheritance. He was a great warrior who developed pride and began disrespecting everyone. Bhishma tried to correct his brother but was ignored and rendered powerless due to his oath to serve the Kuru kings. Chitrangada died in battle before he could marry and have sons. Bhishma performed the funeral ritual. A Gandharv also named Chitrangada challenged him to a fight lasting 3 years. The Gandharv killed Chitrangada. Chitrangada's young brother Vichitravirya became king with Bhishma and Satyavati ruling in his stead. One should know where greed takes over from ambition. Vichitravirya. Relevance, Shantanu's son. Much of Vichitravirya's life occurs after our story of King Shantanu. He was the youngest son of Queen Satyavati and King Shantanu, and a grandfather of the Pandavas and the Kauravas. His brother Chitrangada died in battle before he could marry and have sons. Bhishma consecrated Vichitravirya, who was still a child, as the new king, but Bhishma and Satyavati ruled in his stead. When he reached manhood, Bhishma married him to Ambika and Umbalika, daughters of the king of Kashi. Vichitravirya fell ill and could not be healed. He died childless. So how is he a grandfather? Queen Satyavati asked her eldest son, Sage Vyasa, born out of wedlock, to perform Niyoga with both the widows of her younger son Vichitravirya and one of their maids, Parishrami, who bare Dhritarashtra, Pandu and Vidura, respectively. Niyoga permitted one spouse who had no child to procreate a child with another woman or a man. Follow the DNA. Satyavati. Relevance, Shantanu's second wife. Satyavati was a queen of the Kuru, wife of King Shantanu of Hastinapura, and great-grandmother of the Pandava and Kaurava princes. She began life as the daughter of a fisherman chieftain, Dasharaja, but others say she was the daughter of the Chedi king Uparikravasu and a cursed Apsara, a celestial nymph, turned into a fish called Avrika. Satyavati was known as Matsyagandha, meaning, she who smells like fish. Satyavati met sage Parashara, who fathered her son Vyasa out of wedlock. The sage gave her a musky fragrance, earning her the name Gandhavati, or Fragrant One. That is how she makes Shantanu fall in love with her. Her father insisted Satyavati's son be king. Shantanu could not comply because Devavrata was his heir. Devavrata gave his word and became Bhishma. Satyavati bore Shantanu 2 sons, Chitrangada and Vichitravirya. Her life goal and ambition was to ensure their succession and inheritance of the fortune. One should know where greed takes over from ambition.